Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
In Excel, every workbook is different. That means you may want to modify certain things, like the size and layout of your cell, to better fit the data you're working with. This column has been resized, for example, but not quite enough. Most of the text is still getting cut off. I'm going to increase the width a little bit more by positioning my mouse over the line in the column heading, then clicking and dragging it to the right. Another option is to auto-size the column. This will automatically adjust the width so that it fits the contents of the cells exactly. Just double-click the line instead of dragging it. Now the column is perfectly sized to the text. Rows work the same way. You can adjust them manually or auto-size them to fit the height of your text. Sometimes it's useful to be able to resize all of your cells at once. In this example, I'd like to make all of my rows the exact same height. To do this, click the Select All button in the top left corner. Then resize a row, it doesn't matter which one, and the change will be applied to the entire worksheet. Next, I need to add another row to this list. I'd like to put it in between row 4 and row 5. To add a new row, all you have to do is select the row heading below where you want the new one to appear. Then click the Insert command. The process is similar for inserting a new column. Just select the column heading to the right of where you want the new one to go. Click the Insert command, and a column will appear to the left. Deleting columns and rows is just as easy. First, select the column or row you want to delete, then click the Delete command. The column or row will be deleted, causing the other cells to move and fill in the gap automatically. Just remember that there's a difference between clearing and deleting. Deleting cells removes them from your worksheet. Clearing just removes the contents. You can also move a column or row to a different location. In this example, we'll move a column. All you have to do is select the one you want, then click the Cut command. Next, select the column to the right of where you want the column to be moved. Click the Insert drop-down menu on the ribbon, then choose Insert Cut Cells. Another useful technique for rearranging data is the ability to hide certain columns or rows. For example, I don't really need to see these 3 columns right now. I'd rather focus on the customer's email addresses. If we right-click, then choose Hide from the menu, the columns temporarily disappear. To unhide them, select the columns on either side of the ones that are hidden, then right-click again, and choose Unhide. Let's fast forward to the finished worksheet. Next, I'd like to take a look at wrapping text, which is one way of addressing cells that contain more text than they can actually display. For example, I'd like to resize my column of addresses to about half its current size, but still be able to see the contents. We can do this using the Wrap Text command on the ribbon. As you can see, this displays the text on multiple lines. Now for the finishing touch, combining the cells in the top row so the title of my worksheet can be centered in a single large cell. To do this, select the cells you want to merge, then click the Merge and Center command. There, that's perfect. To access more merge options, open the drop-down menu here. You can merge across, creating merged rows instead of a single large cell if you have multiple cells selected. You can also merge without centering, or split your cells up again. There is a downside to using the Merge command, though. If you want to merge multiple cells, each containing data, Merge will only keep the contents of the upper left cell and discard everything else. So you should be careful when using this feature. The best way to learn about merging cells, wrapping text, and working with columns and rows is to practice. So the next time you're using Excel, look for ways that you can customize your worksheet to better fit your data.
Okay. So let's take a look at the frogs file. Okay, so go ahead and, like I said, hopefully you downloaded these. And we're going to start with frog, the frog census. Okay. Just to kind of start looking at the window before we actually dig into our numbers. There are a lot of similar things to Word. So it's kind of nice, you know, once you get used to Word and all the ribbons and where things are, then that transfers over to a lot of the other programs, which is nice. So you still have your home ribbon, you know, you still got cut, copy, paste, still one of my favorite tools, the format painters there. All your font tools, increasing, decreasing font size, font color, fill color. So the fill color is just like for whatever block, whatever cell you're in. You can still align text left, center, right, but now you can also align text top, middle, bottom. Okay, so there's buttons for that. You can actually rotate your text. If you click on that, you can see you could angle it, you know, this way or that way and up and down and things like that to, you know, make your spreadsheet a little bit more readable depending on how you want it to read. Merge and center is something that she just mentioned. We'll use that. Wrap text. Okay, so that's all the alignment of text. We're working with numbers a lot, and so formatting those numbers into different number formats like currency or accounting or percentages, date, time. Okay, how many commas, how many decimal places, things like that. Okay, so there's a lot of control here, and then a couple quick shortcuts here. Okay, so for adding a comma, adding a percent, moving your decimal, increasing or decreasing your decimal, things like that. Conditional formatting is something that's new. It's something that we're definitely going to look at. And he talked about conditional formatting in our Learn to Love Excel song. And that was in my head in the middle of the night last night. So I wouldn't say it's awful, but I was like, I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't go back to sleep. That song was running around. And so we'll look at this. She showed you the insert and delete. And I always kind of, you know, you want to insert cells, you want to insert a column. You know, your first tendency is to go to insert. But it's such kind of a, I guess, a common task that it's actually, there's a button here for it. Finding and replacing, that's still here. We had that in Word. We're going to have it in Excel, and we'll actually do that a little bit. And then we're going to work with some formulas and some fills and things like that. Of course, file, same thing. Open, save, print, and insert. There we go. So insert pictures, that's still here. Shapes, 3D models. Okay, that's all pretty similar. Smart art. We will be working with charts and graphs. Okay, so a great way to display and understand numbers is to see a chart, right? If we see 100 versus 1,000 in numbers, it may not be as dramatic as if we see a column that's 1,000 units tall versus one that's 100 units tall, right? Visually we'll see that there's a dramatic difference between 100 and 1,000. So we like to use charts to kind of help people read our numbers. And then again, some different things in here, but then some other common things like comments, hyperlinks, symbols, text boxes. Okay, again, some of the same tools that we've looked at. Page layout, we still have themes, we still have margins. We can set still orientation, whether we want to go portrait, which is up and down, or landscape, which is wide. Let's see, formulas is a whole new tab, right? Because spreadsheets are all about the numbers. So we have a whole new tab working with formulas, so we'll work at that. And the data as well. that's all a little bit more advanced. I'm not sure if we'll use any of that in BIM 1. Review, again, not sure that we look at that. This is your view, your different views. Also down here at the bottom right, you have different views. Right now we're in the normal view. You can do a page layout view and kind of see what it would look like if you were to print, right? And there is a place for a header in this document, which I usually hit on really hard at school when we're printing. We have to have a header in there, but I haven't hit it as hard this year because you guys really aren't printing to turn things in. Okay, so those are views down there. You've got your zoom, right? So like here at school, our monitors are pretty big. So that little spreadsheet kind of really gets stuck up in the corner. And so to get it bigger, right, it might be good, you might want to zoom. If you've got a big monitor at home, you might want to zoom so you can see those numbers a little bit bigger. It's not so small. Okay. You have, let's see, that works around the ribbons. Okay, now this next row right here, you can see that there's a letter and a number in that box. It's called the name box. And the name box tells us where we are on the sheet. So the sheet, again, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I kind of pointed that out in the video yesterday, that was what the original VisiCalc looked like, right? Of course, it was that black and white screen, but it was still columns and rows. And so where those two intersect, that cell has a name, and that name is G4 or B5, right? And when you click on those, you can see where you are because the shading of the B and the 5, or the C and the 6, okay? And that's important when we write formulas, to know where we are and what cells we're using, because that's how we're going to identify. We don't type in 2 plus 2. We type in B5 plus C5, okay? Then here is our formula bar, and this will show us the text that is in the cell, okay? And we can come up here and we can edit it if we need to. We can also edit in our cells down here. You can double click and get your blinking cursor to come up inside one of the cells, or you can edit up here. Either place will work, okay? When you have, it's called the formula bar because when you actually have a formula, you see the answer here, but you see the formula up here. So you could always look at click on this, look at it, see what kind of formula or function it is. You can get in here and edit it if you need to. You can also double click here in the cell and the actual formula comes up so that you can edit or change formulas like that. Okay, so a little bit of navigation there. They talked about, you know, changing the column widths. That's a click and a drag or a double click to get the width. This button right here will select the entire spreadsheet. We also work a lot with ranges. So we may talk about select the range A3 through A10. Okay, so you would select this range and they would actually write it like this. So it'd be A3 colon A10. All right, so when you see something like that, that is a range. It's not A3 and A10. It's A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, A10. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay. Let's see, what else? Oh, the sheets at the bottom. So you can see that there's 3 sheets. That's just kind of a default. This little plus sign, you can add more. Okay, there's sheet 4. I can move sheets around just by clicking and dragging. Okay, a lot of times because we want things saved individually, we may just use sheet 1. We do in here. But really, if you have a lot of things related, then you may have a workbook that has lots of sheets. And you can have, I don't even remember the number, you can have a lot of sheets. okay? And you have a lot of rows and a lot of columns, all right? So let's just take a real quick look. We're not gonna go all the way, but once you get to Z, you see how it starts repeating double A, AB, AC, right? I think we have 256 columns that we can work with. And anybody want to guess how many rows we have? I know this is what you're going to, some of you are going to start hitting the down arrow, right? And see how far you can go. And that might take you all period. Okay, so let me show you real quick. I'm going to do a Control Home, go back up to the top. And when I click and hold on this corner, I want you to look in the name box. Okay, and it's going to tell us, I'll actually make this a little bit bigger right here just so we can see it. Okay. Oh, excuse me, not 250. We used to have 256. We have, let me get my commas right, 1,048,576 rows. And we have 16,384 columns in this one sheet. And then you can have sheet 2 and sheet 3 and sheet 4 and sheet 5. Can you just imagine how much data can be in one of these workbooks? Right? That's a lot. I have no idea if anybody would actually have something that would use all that, but maybe. Like if you're storing names and addresses of everybody in San Antonio, right? That's over 1 million people. I doubt you would use a spreadsheet, but to store it, you'd probably use a database to store it. But for some reason, we may want to download that to Excel and extract people that live in a certain zip code or something like that, right? So that's a lot of space. So hopefully you're not still hitting your down arrow, seeing how far you can go, because you got 1 million rows to go. All right. I think that's everything. You still have your quick access up here. All right, so let's kind of start taking a look at what happens when we start typing in data. So we talked about, we again looked at the video yesterday or Tuesday, and he was talking about how, you know, before they were just doing calculations on paper, right? And they had to, if a number changed, they had to recalculate, or if they made a mistake, they had to recalculate. So with a spreadsheet, if you build it with these formulas that are cell specific, right? So this says that we're going to sum the range B5 through E5. So B5 plus C5 plus D5 plus E5. That's what that function is telling us. We're going to sum them up, okay? And right now, that's our answer. But let's say, you know, we've been working on this period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4. So this might be, you know, over a whole year. And we're gathering data of these frogs. We're going out and we're looking at this certain pond or this certain area, and we're counting the frogs. And so now, you know, at the end of the year, we need to go in and we need to fill in this data. All right. And so we needed to know the totals as we were going along, but we don't want to have to recalculate them every time. Okay, again, the magic of that spreadsheet. So we're just going to make up some numbers. So the African dwarf frog, let's say there were 50. So when I type in 50, and as soon as I hit enter, you're going to see this number change and the total change and the column total change. Okay, so enter, that number changed, and that number changed, just like that. Okay, there's that magic where you don't have to go back and recalculate. Okay, so we'll just fill in some numbers here. That one's a pretty small. I guess I should be a little bit more consistent with what's been there, right? Okay, so every time I typed in a number, it changed because every one of these has a formula in it. And every one of these has a formula in it. So equal, sum, F5 through F10. F5 plus F6 plus F7 and so on. Okay. All right. So that just kind of shows you what happens. Let's go ahead and go over to sheet 2. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make them bigger. Okay, so we're on sheet 2. We're blank. And like I said earlier, if I were to type in 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, okay, and I hit enter, nothing happens. All right, when I look back at sheet 1 and I look on these formulas, what do they start with? Anybody?
The equal sum.
Yeah, very good, the equal sign, right? So they start with this equal sign. So that's telling the computer that we need it to do a calculation. All right, so if I typed in equal 2 plus 2 and then hit enter, it's going to do that calculation for me. Okay, so you can do that, but you can also, because sometimes you just need to do the math, right? But we may also want to be able to change those numbers. So if I write a formula using the cell references, then this is C1 plus C2. And you can type those in, or you can click on them. And actually, it'll color code as you type so that you can visually see them being connected. The cell name being connected with the actual cell. Okay? So just some different ways to work with the calculations. And like I said, we'll work with some functions as well. If we wanted to, let's just go across this time. We've got 2 and 2, and we want to add those 2, or maybe we have a longer list, right? There are some functions that help us do things with larger numbers. So a sum function is taking all of the numbers that are there and adding them together. Okay, an average function would be averaging the numbers. A count function means it's going to count how many cells have numbers in them, 1, 2. A max will tell us the highest number. The min will tell us the lowest number. Okay, and there's a ton of functions, and we'll get deeper into those. I think initially we just kind of start with the sum function, maybe the average function. Okay, so that's there, and that's what we'll see. Like I said, like on this one, you know, because you've got a longer list of numbers. And if you move, like if I were to take these and move them, okay, notice that this number didn't change, okay, because now this is going to actually be adding those up. So if you move or insert, your formula will automatically adjust a lot, which is great. It's helpful. Like if you miss a column and you need to insert it, you're not going to have to rewrite that formula. It's going to automatically adjust that you've got an extra one in there. So like now it says F10, but if I come in here and then add a column, now it's going to say F11, right? It's going to adjust that formula for you. Okay, it's pretty smart. All right, let's go somewhere else on the sheet. And I want you to type 1 and enter, and then 2 and then enter. And enter moves you down. If you want to move across, like if you want to type a number and move across, you would hit tab, right? Tab moves you across, and enter moves you down. It's kind of a good thing to know too. All right. So now real quick, what we're going to look at is the fill. So if we grab these 2 cells, so select, click and drag to select the range. And then right here in the corner, do you see that my fat plus sign turns into a little skinny plus sign right on that little square on the corner? Okay, at that point, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down. And what it's going to do is it's going to pick up the pattern that I've established and repeat that pattern. Okay, I love the fill as well. There's a lot of things about the fill I'll show you as we keep going that is really cool. Okay, it'll do this if I want to do evens, right? There's 2, there's 4. It'll keep that pattern, and if I want to do 5, 10, 15, or 3, 6, 9, right? It'll do that for me. If I want to do days of the week, actually I can just start with Monday and fill days of the week. I can fill months of the year. I don't even have to get the pattern going on that. It'll do that stuff for me automatically. Okay. So those are some of the other cool magical things that you can do when you're building a spreadsheet, right? If you need to put numbers across the top or dates across the top, things like that. Okay. There's also, let me come back to this one. I'll do Monday again. When you do these fills, this little options button will pop up, and depending on what kind of fill you did, it'll give you some options. So like here, if I didn't want weekends, I just wanted Monday through Friday, I can tell it, just fill the weekdays, and it'll get rid of my Saturday, Sundays. Okay. All right, any questions so far? All right, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you go back to how you picked only weekdays? Like, I just didn't see it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do Monday and then fill it, because it doesn't stay up there forever. And then, oh, wait, I got to fill it. There, you get this options button right here. It'll pop up. Like when you cut and paste, right? When you paste, that little button pops up, and then you can click on it, and there's different options there. Do you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And then, you know, sometimes maybe I didn't want to fill the series. I just needed Monday all the way down. So I can tell it, don't fill the series, just copy it, right? And I can just do Mondays if I needed to. All right, anything else? Okay. All right, so let's save this as frog census. Right here, frog census, save it in your folder. Oh, you know what else I want to show you? Because this will become really important, and we'll go over it again, I'm sure, but when we're doing charts, okay? So when we're doing charts, like sometimes we just want to chart the total, right? We don't want to chart all this stuff in the middle. So I just need this selected and this selected. Do you remember how in Word we could select different parts of the document at the same time? Remember how we did that? No? What do you think? What would your guess be?
Wasn't that control when highlighting?
Yeah, exactly. So if I select these and then hold down control on my keyboard, then I can come over here and select these, right? And if I wanted to, I could bold them. I could make a chart out of them. Like I said, we're not getting to charts till later, but I could do a chart with them, things like that, okay? So holding the control key will give you different parts of the spreadsheet. Okay. All right, so now let's open the budget. So now we're going to kind of look at all the formatting. Okay, so we've got, you've got frogs, we've got color, we've got a picture inserted, we've got it, the headings spanned across the top, we've got bold, we've got centered, we've got borders, right? So Usually when we start typing things in though to Excel, it's gonna look like this. It's pretty plain Jane, okay? So let's take a little bit of time and look at all of the different ways that we can format it and make it look nice. Okay, so starting with column width, all right. Again, you can see that when you, okay, so right here in A1, we have the words Nigel Enterprises typed in. But when the column ends, you can see that the text still overflows into the next cell. Yes? Actually, let me make it bigger. Okay, so there's nothing in B1 officially. You can see up here, there's nothing there. But the text from A1 is overflowing into B1. Okay, but down here, you can see that these words are getting cut off. Why would this one not get cut off and this one get cut off? That should be an easy guess.
Is there stuff in the cells next to it?
Right, because there's stuff in the cells next to it, right? And so as soon as we type something, if we were to type something in B1, then A1 would be getting cut off. All right, so we need to kind of look and decide, all right, how wide do our columns need to be? A best fit is good, but sometimes if you have a heading, then it makes it as wide as the heading, which is too wide. Okay, so we also want to be able to click and drag, right? So you can just kind of look and see, yep, that looks good. Everything's, I mean, this one's still overflowing, but that's okay because that's going to be one of our headings across the top. Okay, but nothing's getting cut off. Here, October, November, December, those are getting cut off. But we may also want all three of those to be the same width, right? Because they're all months. So you can click and drag across the top, the B, C, D, and get all of those selected. And then under the format column, you can actually type in a column width. And I think, let's try 12. Oh, 12's too big, but that's okay. We'll change that again later, right? And you can also see the width. If I click on that line between B and C, that little pop-up, you can see that that's a 12, right? So it may tell you, you may have instructions that tell you to put it at an exact width, and you can click and drag and you can try to get it right at 12, but you can also go into format column width and just type it in as well to be more precise. Okay. Aligning. So let's see what I want to do. Let's take our total revenue and let's right align it. Okay, and so when you right align, it just aligns within that cell. Okay, and then total expenses, and we'll right align it. We're going to right align profit and cumulative profit. Okay, and we're going to center our months at the top. Okay, then with our headings, we usually want to have them spanning the entire cell. Of course, you don't want them to expand all however many thousands of rows there was, right? So you just select the rows that you want it to span, and then this merge and center button is real quick. Okay, you click on it, it now becomes one cell. So those 4 blocks are now one block. Okay, that's the merge part, and then it centers it across the top. So same thing for fourth quarter budget. I'm going to click and select A2 through D2 and merge and center. Okay, and y'all tell me if I go too fast and lose you, because I want you doing this on your screen too, and I know it's kind of awkward probably. So tell me to slow down if I need to.
Miss Martin.
Yeah.
Does it, like, I missed when you changed like the width of A, and like if you changed more, does it matter, or like do you really care right now? Because like I was just saying, I don't know like what the width you put it to, because mine's like
I just
tighter
made sure
here.
that nothing got cut off.
Oh, okay, okay. That's
Good.
what I thought, so that's what I did, but I just wanted to make sure I did it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then, so this is a budget. We've got revenue, which is money coming in. And we've got two forms of revenue, sales and consulting. Okay, and you can see that this right here doesn't have numbers, right? Because this is a section of that budget. And then we've got a total, and then we've got an expenses section, and then we've got all the different expenses, and then we've got a total. So this doesn't look like it's all different lines that should have numbers. I'm going to set these two off. So I'm going to select sales and consulting, and we're going to use this indent. Okay, increase indent. And it just moves it in a little bit. And we'll do the same thing for expenses. Okay, increase indent. And that way you can tell that revenue is the main heading, and then we've got the two types of revenue, sales and consulting, and then we've got a total. Okay. I showed you the wrap earlier. You want to look at that? We'll select the date, the months, and we'll do the angle counterclockwise. So that's just a different look, and you could make these columns a little bit smaller now because the numbers are smaller, the words are the biggest part, right? And so if like you have a whole years of data, that's 12 columns. If you want it to like fit on one page and things like that, you could definitely format these so that the numbers fit and you can still see the months, right? Because we gave it that angle. Okay, so I changed column B, C, and D to 5.
Miss Martin.
Yeah.
I think I messed up. My A1 and 2, that one, it's only in A. It's only in the column A, and I can't seem to get it to cover all of them.
Okay, did you click and drag through all of them and then hit merge and center?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, select A1, B1, C1, D1.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that kind of works with column widths and alignments and some things like that. Then we can look at fonts and borders and shading. So our heading, we probably want it to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to make it bold, and this is all stuff you've done, right? Increase the size a little bit. I can maybe make that italicized, fourth quarter budget. And then we can do a lot of shading to help separate the sections as well. So let's go back up to our heading, Nigel Enterprises, and we could do some shading here. If you want to pick a color and kind of do different variations of the colors, you could do that. Let's do something light. And then you could do borders. And of course, you have all the different options for borders, but you also have more borders. And so, where did my more borders go? Is it over here? Oh. There it is. Disappeared on me. So we kind of did this when we did like boxes and shading in Word, right? And so if you want to click a thicker box, you could do a different color. If I want to do like an orange and a green combination, and then I just want it on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to use my preview over here to tell it where do I want that border to go. Okay, and I'm on row 1, and I just want it to go across the bottom of row 1, so it'll be between 1 and 2. Okay. All right, and then revenue, this is its own section basically. So I'm going to select A4 through D4 and give it a little shading, maybe a little darker green. Actually, I'm going to go really dark. And then I'm going to change my font to white and bold. And then I want that same formatting for expenses. So I could use my format painter and get that same application right there. I'm gonna make, let's make totals bold. Totals bold. Profit, cumulative profit bold. Okay. So basically when you're working with numbers and calculations, in accounting, we call it a single rule and a double rule. Okay. So a single rule means that here's the numbers we're going to add up. We're going to draw a line right here across them. So we know we had to add them up. And then once we have totals, then we double line underneath the totals. Okay. So there is actually a line set up right here, top and double bottom border right there. Okay. And that gets us exactly what we want for that good financial format of a single line showing that we're adding these up, and that double line showing that this is a total. Okay, so again, I'm going to select the total expenses, and then under my formatting options, it was top and double bottom border. All right. Now, of course, we are working with dollar amounts, right? Okay. So what I want us to do on this one is let's go ahead and select. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Usually we only use dollar signs like at the top and the bottom of a list. Okay. Otherwise, it gets a little too cluttered. So we're going to select B5 through D5. And we're going to look at our number formats. Okay, there is a button right here that will change it to accounting format. Of course, there's different. If you're doing euros or something like that, that would be an option there. We're not. We're just sticking to dollars. Okay, but there's also, if you look in this drop down, there's currency and there's accounting. Okay, and when you look at the example, we're like, what in the heck is the difference? There's really not a difference. Okay, but there is one slight difference, and that is that, let's go ahead and click on accounting. Well, actually something else is about to happen. All right, so when I click on accounting, I got all of these pound signs, hashtag signs, whatever you want to call them, in my cell. Okay, I need everybody to see this, because this is going to happen to you at some point, and you have done nothing wrong. Okay, there's nothing wrong with your math. There's nothing wrong with your numbers. It's just that the columns aren't wide enough. So a while ago when we had text that the columns wasn't wide enough, remember it just cut it off? Well, with numbers, you get this. So all we have to do is make the column wide enough to be able to fit the dollar sign, the comma, decimals that get added with that. Okay.
How do you get the accounting again? What tab do you push?
So just using this dollar sign right here will give you accounting, or you can choose it from the drop-down list. Okay. All right. So we did that one as accounting format. Let's do this one as currency, and we'll just take a look and see what the difference is. All right. So right now, you might see a little bit of a difference, but if we really widen a column, what do you see the difference as? It's the position of the dollar sign, right? So that's the only difference between those two number formats. Currency leaves the dollar sign snuggled up against the number, and accounting leaves the dollar sign at the left edge of the cell, no matter how wide the cell is. Okay, so it just depends visually what you're looking for. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and leave ours as accounting, and I'll show you kind of why you might want to do that. So I'm going to take this number, and actually I'm going to use my control.
This is Martin.
Yeah.
The quality of your screen is like really bad. I don't know if that's just for me, but it's like I can like hardly tell like what's going on.
No, that was because I had it set for video and then I forgot to change it.
Oh.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Thanks for saying that though, Trey. Okay, so I'm selecting B7 through D7. I'm going to hold down Control, select my row 10 and my 17 and my 19 and my 20, right? So now with one click, I can go ahead and set it to accounting format. Okay, and so what the nice thing about the accounting format is, see how it lines up all these dollar signs in a nice straight line? Whereas if you had that floating dollar sign, it would be moving with a 2-digit number versus a 4-digit number and that kind of stuff. And so this just gives it a cleaner look, right? Accountants like things nice and neat and organized. Okay, now we do still have all these numbers in the middle right here. So we've got these and these, and they don't have commas and they don't have decimals, and so they look a little off, they look a little different. So that we can just use the comma format. Actually, right here, we could choose comma style, and that will automatically give you a comma and 2 decimals. If you were to use a drop down and do number, whoops, no, more number formats. You can also get this dialog box, right? And you can customize, like if you for some reason needed, doing something more scientific and you needed more decimal places, right? You could do that. Or maybe you just need 1 decimal place. So you can always dig in here and do this. Also, negative numbers. Most of the time, negative numbers will come up as red, okay? Red means negative. If you ever hear about a company being in the red, that means that things are in bad shape. When a company's in the black, that means that they're making a profit, right? And I'm pretty sure that's where the word Black Friday came from, right? Is because they make so many sales on Black Friday that they're making a profit. Okay, if you're in the red, then after Black Friday, you should be in the black. So anyway, that's kind of where that comes from. So negative signs, parentheses, and red can all mean negative numbers. They will mean negative numbers when you're looking at financials. Okay, so something to remember there. All right, let me get it back to comma. Okay. All right, so it's looking a little bit nicer than what we started with, yes? Okay. Any questions now? So the intent was that you were going through that with me, just to kind of initially get a feel of some of the the features and things like that. Of course, we'll have assignments to keep practicing this. We're going to have some, we're going to start out with more formulas, not as much formatting, and then we'll get into the formatting, which I really don't like. I like us to start adding colors and formats right away, right? But they want you to get down, you know, some of the formulas and stuff first. So it'll kind of start that way, and then we'll get the formatting going in. Let me show you real quick. Just a little bit more of the magic since we've got some time. So, and actually, let's see, well, let's do this. Okay, so if we have some information, last name, first name, and I'm just gonna look at my screen, right? So we've got Max, and we've got Reagan, and we've got Savannah. All right, so we've got these names, and yeah, I'll just start with this. So let's say that for some reason, like I've got this list of all my students' names, right? And I want to come up, and this is actually what I did to come up with your typing.com username and password, okay? So I have a way to be able to download your first name, last name, and your user ID, okay? And then I needed an email. So basically what I did is I used, it's part of the flash fill, the filling, just like we did the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But what I can do, let's pray that this works, okay? So I want to do my full name. And what I want it to be is I want it to be Max Reed. And then I want it to be Reagan Webster. Oh, see, I'm not getting it. I might need a longer list. Let's see. This really works better. And it seems like every time I want to show people that it like doesn't really work the first time. I think it's because of the way I type things in, but okay. There we go. All right, so as soon as I started typing Reagan, do you see how it automatically filled for me? And again, it's picking up that pattern that I'm pulling this information and this information, and I want a space in between and all that good stuff. So now at this point, as soon as that pops up, I can hit enter, and it finishes that list. So I could have a list of 1,000 people, right, that I needed to do this for, and I could do it within just a couple of seconds, right? And then let's say I needed an email for them, okay? And so their email, let's say, is the first letter of their first name, their last name, and then at neisd.net. Let's just see if I can get this to work. Okay, and then R Webster at .net. All right, so sometimes it may not work, but I think we should be able to, if I can get in here. These hyperlinks cause a problem sometimes. I'm going to remove the hyperlink. Okay. So I'm going to select these, and then there's a button over here for fill. There's flash fill, and I can force it to do it. So if it doesn't pick it up automatically, I can still kind of force it to do that. So now I would have had a list with all of the email addresses real quick, right? I could generate passwords that way, you know, like the first letter of your first name, your last name, plus the 4 digits of your ID, right? Those kinds of things I can generate by using that flash fill, okay? So the flash fill has been really cool. I'm gonna tell you that this stuff right here has kind of always been a part of Excel, but you had to write this really long formula to make it happen. And now they coded it in there so it can happen just like that. So that was been a fun thing to kind of play with and work with. A little handy tool there. Okay. All right, so go ahead and save this as Nigel Budget. Let me look through my notes. And so hopefully you got a good little preview there. Let me stop sharing.